Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
All right. So I have a couple of things. First off, throughout history, we've noticed that Western society was a lot more less developed whenever women did not have rights compared to now that women do have rights. They are inventing things such as Ada Lovelace and coding and computers. And so, how would you think life would be if we never got those rights and those things were never invented?
We'd be a better society, probably.
And
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, we would have more nuclear families. We wouldn't have feminists. We wouldn't have strange progressive women that color their hair. We would just basically be better off as a society.
So you would
Because
be
the
better with no
reality,
income?
I find it
considering-
interesting that like women will name like one or two inventions that they've made, but almost everything that we enjoy in modernity was made by men. Men are like 90% plus of the inventors. If we had to rely on female ingenuity, we'd probably still be rubbing sticks together.
Okay. So a second one for you. What about majority of education professionals being women? So we are not only cultivating the young minds, but we are also fostering care and kindness in them.
Well, that's precisely why college is a joke now. As someone who graduated from college myself from a good school, the education system and academia in general has just become, a libtard fest where people are operating not on reality and thinking that there's 99 genders and, this woke ideology, and it's kind of like the battlegrounds for that. So the universities have morphed from a place where you can get a higher education, become more intelligent, and get a job into the real world versus, just pushing a political agenda. And this is why women are starting to dominate men in college attendance, because men are kind of catching on that college is a scam in most cases.
Just to clarify, I wasn't speaking specifically of college educators. I meant more of your public school system educators, so your K through 12 and things like that.
Sure. So what's your particular question?
Majority of those people that work in those education fields are women. So we are the ones that spend majority of the time with the children. And we are the ones cultivating their minds, making sure they're educated and they're kind people. So how do you think that would be if we didn't have rights to teach?
Well, again, you guys are able to do that because men have stabilized and civilized the world for you to be able to do that.
But that's not like, okay. So if we were to obey a man, then theoretically
Within a relationship.
within a relationship.
I'm speaking specifically like if you're in a relationship together, it's the woman's job to obey her man.
Why? Why not the other way around? Who says what? You?
Well, because women can't lead anything. The only thing they can lead is to the end of the relationship. Simply doesn't work when women are in the power position in a relationship because women don't respect weak men that lead them, that they're leading.
Okay, no, a woman's not going to respect a weak man, but if they're both equals, then there will be mutual respect between both of them. And
But
that
that's the
is when it
problem.
should
Men and women are
thrive.
not equal.
How? We're the ones that give you life. Why is there no respect for that?
Well, actually, technically, we put our semen into you, and that's what creates life, not you guys. You guys just incubate.
Actually, semen can be performed and created in a lab, so we don't even need you anymore. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Look at that. We could be in a lab.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
A little bit. You might have to move the mic down for our guys.
No, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's all the way down. Damn. The struggles of being 5 foot, nothing. Anyway, what's your name?
Myron, nice to meet you.
Byron? Okay, cool.
Myron, yeah.
What is? Sorry.
Myron.
Myron.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
What's your name?
Ozzy.
Okay. How are you,
Sorry.
Ozzy?
I have no clue who you are. So this
No
is
problem.
very interesting. So I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
I noticed that you keep up bringing up the nuclear family,
Yeah.
right? And like you put that on a pillar, and that like you value it highly. That as well as like the patriarchy, and you talk about how this is like a good thing, and it benefits you and I guess women as well. And so on the patriarchy, I specifically wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the like negative implications and just like actual effects of it, both on men and, well, just mostly men?
The patriarchy?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, are you talking from the sense of like, from a modernity sense of today, or are you talking about like before? With
No, literally today.
Literally
So,
today.
Yeah, and well, I guess we could also visit like you talk about how like the nuclear family, and when that was at the height was like I think was it before World War? It was like before and like during like the World Wars, like that kind of 1950s era.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So, I'm just trying to understand your question specifically.
Yeah, so you talk about valuing the nuclear family, and I'm trying to ask you why. So, like, if you
Why?
could, like,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah,
very
so the
clearly
reason
just
why is
explain
because
that.
children are the future. And in order to raise children properly, you need a mom and a dad, right? You need that balance. So, and that can only really be done in a nuclear family. This is why I'm not a fan of gays adopting or lesbians adopting. I think, the child needs to have a strong father and a mother in the household, for the best chance at being a productive member of society. That's why the nuclear family is so important, because our future is built on that, which are the children.
Okay. You gotta stop with the bazinga. And then going to then the patriarchy.
The patriarchy, okay?
Yeah.
What about it?
So you're talking about how, like, you value it and you find it good that men are then forced to go out and do these things. So you're talking about kind of like the men's rights issues, right?
Yes, I think men, there's a burden of performance on us. And I think that that's something to embrace and rise to versus trying to be equal to women.
Okay, so you believe that men should not have a choice.
As far as in what regard? Working?
Not just working, but just style of life and, like, so taking away that choice from men and just generally from people of, like, their direction in life.
I think every guy should be prioritizing, whether they're building themselves up to eventually have a family, right? I understand that, for men, it takes time for us to acquire our value versus women kind of have the value up front. But I do think that every guy should be striving to become successful so that eventually a family will be dependent upon him.
Okay. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I don't think women should be working. I think they should be prioritizing motherhood, not jobs.
So then so taking our society and the amount of people that it takes to run a fully functioning, well-endowed society, that takes people of all kinds of creed, right?
Sure.
So when you take away that matter of choice from both men and women and everyone in between, why do you then believe that that will be a better society?
Well, the thing is this, right? So you're mentioning this thing about choice, and I think that's an illusion, right? And we need to be honest here when it comes to women pursuing education and a career. What we tell them is, hey, look, go get a job, make money, enter the workforce, and then you can have a family at the end of that. And what ends up happening a lot of times is women follow this route, get an education, get money, get a job, get a good career, and then when they try to find a guy at the end of that, it becomes significantly harder. Because what's ended up happening is the woman has risen up in status, risen up in her income, and her standards are higher, so a lot of guys aren't going to qualify. And I think if we were honest with women and told them, look, if you pursue a career, there's a very good chance that you might not get your first choice. I think that's a good starting point. Obviously, we can't just say, take all the jobs and that's it. But I think we need to start being more honest with women and letting them understand that you got to pick one. You can't really have it all. And this is something that we've been lying to women about for decades, that they can have it all. And then they end up at 31 years old, unmarried, no kids, wondering why guys don't take them seriously. But it's because they didn't know the truth about this stuff.
So then how do you feel about the same thing, but then happening towards men? Like,
in what regard?
Take you, for example. You say that you have, I think you mentioned you have an open relationship, but specifically on your end.
Only on my end, yeah.
So you take the nuclear family, which is a loyal and faithful husband.
Only women could be sluts. We are the slut makers. This girl's over here trying to call me a slut. Hey, we're the slut makers, man. There's no such thing as a man that's a slut.
May I continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So you're talking about how you have an open relationship. So you have the nuclear family.
Yep.
The stereotypical nuclear family is a loyal working husband who goes to the office or whatever, makes money, comes home to his wife, provides for his wife, takes care of his wife. You value highly the nuclear family, but you yourself are not taking a part of it. Why is that?
Well, I have a certain goal that I want to hit financially before I, go ahead and have a family. I have some business aspirations, and I want to make sure I get that out of the way so that when it is time to be a father, I can focus 100% on that and not necessarily be as tied up with work. So and that's kind of one of the, the good things about being a man is that though we are not born with value, if we work hard enough, we can create value, and that gives us a bit more time on the time clock. Versus for women, they have a fairly finite amount of time to be able to build a family. So for me, I'm focused on hitting a certain financial goal first so that when I do have my children, money never becomes a problem again.
But you talk about how women are born with an inherent value.
Yes.
I would differ that men are as well. And what you are doing, so the nuclear family, part of men's value comes from being loyal and being hardworking. And I feel like when you miss half of that, like what you're doing, you are then degrading degrading, thank you, whoever said that, the nuclear family and the idea of this, because you take this very almost shallow and kind of hollow, because every person has issues and the nuclear family is by no means perfect, and you are then kind of showing the issues with it by your own actions and by your own kind of disregard for.
Well, my thing is, I think, again, I teach guys, hey, look, this is what you need to do, right? This is how you become attractive, get your life together. Now, when I arm guys with these tools, what they choose to do it is up to them. If they want to go ahead and have a family immediately, that's fine. If they want to go ahead and play the field, that's fine. But my thing is, I want men to be in a position. The problem is that a lot of guys are in a relationship where their woman controls everything. She's making the decisions, she's bossing him around. There's no leadership there. I want the guy to be in a position where he can kind of dictate the terms. And if he decides, look, I want a family and I want to have a family early, I want him to do that through choice, not through necessity. A lot of guys are monogamous or in a relationship through necessity, not because they want to be. So I just want guys to be able to have that choice. That's the big thing. And then eventually, obviously, work towards a family. But I think the other thing, too, that's important is that men have to understand how modern women work.
4 minutes in the event. Thank you. My last question here is,
Sure.
What's your goal with coming out to this college campus where you have all of these people who very obviously are heckling you and do not want you to be here? What's your goal? Because obviously you're not really going to change people's minds with some of the more hateful messages that you're portraying. Like, why are you here?
To start a revolution, to tell people the truth, something that's been missing for a very long time. Hey, white knighting the girls isn't going to get you laid, right? Doesn't work. Okay, yeah.
I'll be quick here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank the whole crowd for uniting against this man. I am proud of our campus. I am proud of us. I was scared seeing these posters, genuinely, because I didn't know who would show up to this event. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys are great. Thank you to all our question people. And I'm not going to thank you. I think you are a weird person.
Good one. I think it's interesting that you say that because I think, the reality is there's a silent majority that agrees with me. This is why Trump won. Because guys know, right? This is why Trump won. Because the good thing about liberals, right? This is what's good about liberals. Liberals, right, liberals tend to be louder. Right? You guys tend to hit the streets. You guys tend to protest. You guys tend to be loud, which is great. Something I actually applaud you guys for. But nowadays, I think people are waking up slowly but surely, and I think the landslide victory that Trump had proves that a lot more guys are starting to look towards the conservatism and the right wing versus radical left wing beliefs because, it just doesn't serve us to be liberal, and we can see that there. But yeah.
Bring it up just a little bit. Can I bring this up just?
There's a loud minority. What's that, man?
Hey, can I bring this up a little bit? Is that okay? Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you remember me at all?
No.
Okay. So can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women,
Yeah.
Okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well,
here?
I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it. But I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right, sexual body count.
All right, and then is that the last one?
And then there's one more, but that's fine. You could go ahead and
Okay.
engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about a year and a half. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did, and it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved. Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations, that's good. That's really good.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think...
So a question for you. You said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like
Yep.
that. And then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically? Did you like just start? What happened specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void.
Mm-hmm.
There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it.
Sure.
And I tried to do it with sex.
Yeah. So would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here.
Yeah.
And I know pretty much everyone on your crew. But I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast, and I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak, or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well, I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but the thing is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do. And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women, and then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like, and that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now, look, if a guy can go ahead and, find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times. But the reality is a lot of guys don't. And I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good. They're good.
Yeah, failures, failures in the sense of socioeconomic or maybe even relationship failures could be good. But there's a difference with what I'm saying. I'm saying that we're warned against our soul. Jesus Christ commands us to marry one woman. That's it.
Sure.
And what you were causing me to do was sin against myself. And that's the point I'm trying to get to. It's immoral.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's
you got to
wrong.
take personal responsibility, bro. Because here's the reality.
No, I do, 100%.
Yeah, so
very publicly, I have in front of over
why-
40,000 people. I've
yeah,
done that.
Yeah, great. But the point I'm trying to make is I teach guys a skill set, right? If I give you a gun and you shoot yourself in the foot, is that my fault? If I taught you how to properly use it, how to disarm it, disassemble it, how to load the magazine in properly, all that. If I give you the skill set, then you shoot yourself in the foot, right? Is that really my fault? No, I just arm you with the skill set. Then you choose what you want to do with it. Now, obviously,
Well,
you
no,
wanted to
it's
go on
predatory,
you wanted to
because
go
men are
toward
hurting.
a sex escapade, which is, I guess, fine. But the reality is, I armed you with the tools to become an attractive guy, and you utilize that. You can't come back and get mad
No,
and
you
say,
didn't arm me with that. I became attractive when I followed Jesus. That was it.
Oh, okay. Now it's changing the story.
No, I'm not changing any story. It's one thing to be attractive in the sense of gaining sexual partners, but it's a completely different thing to be attractive to someone that wants to marry you and spend their life with you and have kids with you. Those are two completely different sexual attractions. If I walk in here looking like Thor, I'm 6'2" and shredded, obviously I'm going to be attractive to women. But it doesn't mean that that's a relationship that produces value for me and my family.
And again, everyone is different, right? For you, it took some time, and you found God, and you shifted. But the reality is, I gave you the skill set, and then you choose what you want to do. That's up to you, and you made that decision, not me. I just taught you what to do.
Exactly.
How to do it.
It's on me 100%. I'm not placing blame on you. But what I'm telling you, from someone that listens
here's the other
to you,
thing,
I'm
too,
trying
that
to
you
let
gotta
know
understand.
what happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
That's
know.
true.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work. Because, let's
Why?
be honest, men are very stubborn.
Why do they need to do that? If they find a God-fearing woman, they wouldn't do half the stuff you're talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Finding a God-fearing woman in today's day and age is a lot harder said than done, right? So
I did it.
Yeah, it's a lot harder
And
said
so did
than
everyone
done.
in my whole family. So it's not that hard.
Yeah, that's anecdotal from your perspective. But again, you learned the skill set. You were able to find a wife, and I'm happy about that. But you got to take a little bit of accountability here and understand that you basically got a loaded gun and shot yourself in the foot, and you're trying to blame me for it.
No, I'm not blaming you. Like I said, I take accountability.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Okay.
But look, nothing against you. Like I said, I've hung out with Fresh 8 or 9 times recently. I love them, and I think your heart is in the right place. But I just wanted to give you from someone that actually listened to what you were saying to do, read your book, and it didn't work. That's all I was trying to do for you.
Well, actually, it did. You didn't notice it yet.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to identify your wife and have been able to find her and figure out what characteristics you like and don't like, right, unless you went through that.
My wisdom came from the Bible, not you. But I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, it looks like they're trying to shut us down, guys. Oh, man. Keep going. Okay. All right, who's up next?